we had a bit of a gag before we started recording. So if my accent is too strong at any point, do let me know. I'll try and get some subtitles running there if that helps as well.
It's not that thick. My mom is French, so growing up my whole life, she had this very thick French accent, still does. And so now, if I try to imitate a French accent speaking English, I say it in a lady's voice. I can't do a French accent in a man's voice because I'm just doing an imitation of her. So I have to go like in falsetto. It's really weird. So I don't know if that's part of the conversation, but it should be.
I think we need to hear it, Ryan.
No way. As I was saying it, I was like, no, come back. I'm like trying to catch my words.
Yeah, you left yourself open for that. That's we got to hear a sample, a little Under the Sea, maybe.
That's Rene Aubergenois. That was in that movie, and he's got a very French name. Aubergenois means eggplant, or of the eggplant in France.
Oh, makes sense. Aubergine.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had an emoji last name.
He did. Oh, when they name an emoji after you, you know you've made it, honestly.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the ferric emoji. I'm not sure what it's going to look like. I mean, the obvious one, I was called Ferret an awful lot in school, to the point where I just kind of owned it. That's what the beard is about.
Ferrets are adorable, though.
Yeah,
right. I really like ferrets. Yeah, absolutely. They're good animals.
Excellent. You take on snakes too, snake killers.
Right.
See, that is very true.
They're savage.
And my partner, who actually got me the t-shirt I'm wearing, is terrified of snakes, and he'll kill me for saying that, but that means I'm just going to protect him. It's great, you know?
Exactly. Nice t-shirt, by the way, that Cisco shirt.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And uniform behind you.
Yeah, can we see the full t-shirt on that? Because I didn't see the logo. I can only see that top writing, though.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that looks like a badass shirt right there with the Defiant behind it. He looks like he's standing on an insignia. Pretty cool.
It's a relatively recent one. I have to say, I flipping love it. And one day we'll discuss it in greater detail, but that's fine. I want to talk about the seventh rule because ye have very much become, in the land of podcasting and Star Trek, ye are a staple. Like you are usually, kind of, oh, what Star Trek podcast do you listen to? Well, Seventh Rule, Delta Flyers, this kind of thing. So was aural domination always your plan from the beginning?
Cirroc?
It might have been Aaron's plan. This is really the brainchild of our partner, late Aaron Eisenberg, and that I think that was maybe part of his goal, but I think really just to connect with the fans and kind of build this bridge was the original goal. Just to have this experience unfold together with our fan base. That's one of the great part of the journey, just meeting everybody and having it together. That's been one of the cool things. But I don't know, Ryan was taking over the airwaves part of the original plan.
Feels far from that, honestly. Like I would guess, because this was the brainchild of Aaron Eisenberg, as Cirroc says, we can't really take credit for, the genesis of this. But the way he pitched it to me was just, it'll be a lot of fun. He just wanted to have fun with his friend, Cirroc Lofton. And he pitched it to me as, we need a producer. We need a guy that's just going to push buttons and do stuff, and it'll be a lot of fun. And if Jake and Nog are doing a podcast together where they review their past show every single step of the way, every single episode, and you have a chance to be on it, you say yes. And that's, but Aaron never expressed anything about like giant ambitions beyond having fun, beyond community building, beyond brethren. It was very wholesome reasoning behind it all, I would say.
I mean, I really appreciate that as well, because as you say, being able to reach out and speak to the fandom and, just have them here, shooting the breeze between yourselves. It's a way of inviting people in, okay, like maybe, actually, we were having a conversation with someone there the other day, and we were talking about how things have changed from, say, when during the 90s we would have been, watching various shows, and you never get to interact really at that point with, the people who, you're watching on TV week to week. Whereas now, with the advent of social media, for all of the dangers and craziness that goes with social media, but the world has become a much more open place. And like, at what point, Cirroc, did you realize it's like, oh, everyone knows what I think now? Oh my, okay, everyone can see the real me.
Yeah, I don't know when that really kicked in. I think it was at a convention when, not too long ago, somebody or a few people started coming up saying, yeah, I listened to the podcast. People that I didn't know listened to the podcast, because I do know a lot of the people that are in our group, but some people I don't. And when I started to see that these people from all over the world, tell me that they were listening, that was the kind of indication, like, wait a minute, there's a lot more people listening than I thought. And to your point, Sean, earlier about the way the medium has changed, from my experience, actors would celebrate live performances and stage work because you were able to get an instant reaction from the crowd. You were able to hear from the crowd the applause. And so that emotional connection with the audience is lost when you do film and television, because unless you're filming in front of a live audience, with no audience, there's just you and the camera and your fellow workers that you're doing stuff with. So you don't get a feedback. You don't get you get fan mail. I remember opening a lot of fan mail over the years, and reading those letters that were so beautifully written, and people opening their, souls about how they felt about the show. But now that process is a lot quicker. I mean, fan mail would get collected by Paramount, and they would get, after the bin fills up, then they hand it to you. So you might get something a year later from when it was written. But now a show drops, and one of the things Ryan and I do when we interview various producers, they'll tell us about instant reaction that they react to, right? They're able to go online as soon as it drops and find out the pulse and take the temperature of how the audience is gauging the material. And so that has changed the way that the whole thing works, because now people know right away whether they've got a good idea or if they've hit the mark on something, or if they should go a different direction because it's not something that's working. We may see a character introduced and then quickly shoveled off to the side because the audience didn't react in the way that they anticipated. So that kind of instant reactionary kind of relationship between the fans and the producer of the work is now becoming very intimate. And I think that was another thing that was appealing to me about doing the Seventh Rule, was being able to go through this journey with the fans and further make that connection, that bond between, making that gap smaller, so that we're all kind of in this experience, informing each other and taking the pulse of each other.
Ryan as well, like as not only a host but as a producer on the show as well. Trekkies are of course famously chill, and they never have strong opinions about anything.
Boy.
Yeah, I mean, and hey, look, mea culpa as well. So I'm not pointing, here's, but with that instant feedback, with that, you get, you are, as I say, an established show now in the fandom. What was that pressure like? Even with the fun, because of course it's fun and it's chatting and it's shooting the breeze, but there will always be feedback. There will be feedback for this. I'm sure it'll all be positive. But what does that kind of feel like as a producer as well as a host?
Well, I'm going to hike up my grandpa pants here and say, I'm one of them old school fans personally, or at least what I think is old school, which is when I would ask somebody, when I would find another Star Trek fan out in the wild or at a convention where I would expect to find them, and I said, "Who's your favorite captain?" and they told me an answer different than my own, I would get excited and I would want to know why. And I wouldn't ask why because I was angry and wanted to fight with them. I wanted to know why because it was about a show I love and a franchise I love. And I wanted to hear it's like more. It's like I have my opinion. Now I want to hear someone else's opinion. And I feel like lately it's pretty much understandably completely the opposite of that, where if anybody answers a different opinion other than their own, the battle lines are drawn. And I was never like, if somebody said Archer's my favorite, I wasn't like, oh man, I'm gonna get you for this. I was like, that's awesome, I like him too, he's not my favorite, why is he your favorite? And it was just like I think people lack curiosity a lot of times, and I think it's important to be curious. Now, turning that back around into what your actual question was, I still think it's great. It's amazing to have, that immediate feedback, like Cirroc mentioned, it's like live productions are like that. It is also a little worrisome sometimes because we do have the live chat sometimes we do shows live, sometimes we pre-record them and premiere them. So everybody's live that's commenting as they do. And it's kind of a little petrifying because I'll say one or two dumb jokes per recording. Most of them really hit the target, bullseyes.
You, Ryan?
95% are bullseyes, but one or two miss the mark. And when I see myself do that, I go, ooh. And my eyes immediately go to the live chat, like, how are they going to take it? Are they going to skewer me? I deserve to be skewered. And they usually skewer me. But it's all in good fun because luckily, most of Star Trek fandom, even if they do get heated and even if they do fight, they're watching your show because they love the show and because they love you. And even if they skewer you or make fun of you or make fun of even Star Trek, it's in a playful, loving way, kind of like what some particular shows do with putting in Easter eggs and playful jabbing about previous shows and what they did that were mistakes in the past. So I enjoy it overall.
Good.
And I want to add a little bit something to that too. Sorry, Sean. I want to add one other thing, and that was back to the curiosity part that Ryan was talking about. When we do our roundtables, we have everybody come in and join in, and they give their opinion about the episode or what their takeaways are. And I enjoy that as well because, again, I'm getting somebody else's take on something, and they might catch something that I miss, or they might have a interpretation of something, or there might be a word that could be interpreted differently or have a root origin that I might have missed. So there's so many different ways to perceive things when you're watching these shows, and people usually watch it with their own life experience being the informative thing. So they're looking for certain clues that relate to their own life experience, whether it's mental health issues or friendships and relationship issues, whatever relates to them as they're going through that in their life. And so they pick up on things that you might not pick up on because you didn't lose a loved one just recently, or because you didn't have a post-traumatic stress incident, or you may not have gone through that, but because they did, they can pick up on something like that and tell you about it. So that's one of the big things that I enjoy about having this experience kind of as a family, as a collective, going through it and really picking apart things to learn from.
To go back in time, I definitely want to talk about, Aaron was this beautiful, beautiful soul. And, Cirroc, you mentioned there about particularly the PTSD. I can't go into specifics, of course, but there are some beautiful, amazing stories that I know Aaron spoke about in documentaries, and of course, like, what an amazing career for the pair of you as well, because there's stories I have seen you be a part of where I was just like, yeah, I would have folded at that. There's the and anything in a cave, I probably would have folded and gone right the other way. When you get people coming to you with those kind of stories, this thing that you did really affected me. How do you process that?
It's usually positive, and that's why I'm grateful to have worked on a show that has positive messages layered throughout it, even though it kind of also dealt with very serious circumstances and situations. But I think that's what reflective of life. And if you can get positive out of things, yes, there's going to be rough spots, but um, it was what can you gain from it? What lessons can you learn? And the lessons that we learned about watching Aaron and I was about friendship. It was about family and friendship. And those are the themes that, relate to everybody because we all have those family and friendships that we're juggling in our own lives. So I'm very happy with the work that we did and the relationship that we were able to show, the friendship that we were able to show. I think it's genuine. And when Aaron wanted to start this podcast and talk about these kinds of things, it was just an extension of that same friendship that we had built. It was just taking that and now applying it as Aaron and Cirroc as opposed to our characters. Even though the spirit is in the same place and comes from the same place. Aaron had an amazing ability to talk to people and reach out to people and make people feel welcomed and comfortable. I watched him do it over the years, a ton of times at conventions. He would always reach out to people, always, there'd be a little crowd around his table because he was holding court and
Always.
all the time. And people just hung out at his, it was like the hangout spot, almost, like the like the bar on our show, it was the hangout spot, being at Aaron's table. And it was home base. That was because he made people feel welcome. He made people feel comfortable. He made them feel invited. And he also made them feel heard. And yes, he was also the kind of person who would like to have this kind of debate and argue ideas and really have in-depth conversations. So he was adamantly passionate about things that he, felt he had to, explain his side of the point of view from. So that's where Aaron kind of embodies all of the elements of the show, both just being compassionate, reaching out to people, being as welcoming as possible, inviting people to join the family, and for us to have the same kind of spirit that Aaron Eisenberg had when he was here, just giving us his love and energy.
So when he came to you with the idea for this podcast, there wasn't a moment of, oh God, I got away from you in 1999. I don't want to have to go back into
I think there was a little bit of that. I don't know. That's just a guess.
No, I don't know about the hesitation wasn't working with him. The hesitation was more like, I didn't know what podcasting was. I didn't really know much about podcasting, and the whole idea that I'm entering into an arena where I didn't really know much about, and I didn't see how much of an impact or relevance it would have if we were to endeavor on the journey. So that was something he kind of convinced me of, like, oh, if we do this, people will listen. And I didn't see how podcasts could be effective, or the space that they would create for themselves in this overall media landscape, right? And now we've seen that podcasts have a very significant relevancy in the world because it is this middle space where you don't get the kind of commercial corporate view of the big companies that you get when you have major interviews on big shows with the big productions. You get more of an intimate vibe. You get more of a personal conversation with people, and sometimes you get into details that you would not otherwise get into on, once again, these big conglomerate media, shows. So I think that intimate space is one of the things that I've learned that podcasting is about. Like, oh, okay, this is the space that it functions in, to be able to have these conversations that are slightly in the gray area of the overall landscape. So I think that podcasting has really etched itself into a very particular niche that is valuable in the overall entertainment space.
So were you a Trekkie before, kind of becoming a staple of it? I mean, like, did you have any idea that, like, oh no, this is it for life now?
No, no. I would have thought about it differently if I had known that. I would have asked for more money up front. Like, this is going to change my life.
13?
Yeah, probably. No, I
Most
wasn't even
savvy
thinking about
businessman
money
ever.
at that point. Yeah, right. But now I would have. But no, I wasn't really a Trekkie. No, I was a sci-fi. My biggest thing was um Twilight Zone. I used to love Twilight Zone. I always talk about Twilight Zone, but that was the show that I really liked. I wasn't a big Trekkie. It's starting to grow on me now that I've watched all of these shows.
It's starting.
It's starting. Um, well, I feel like I don't even know anything yet. I mean, there's so much I haven't seen. Right, we're on the second season of the Next Generation right now, and so I've only watched Deep Space Nine and the 2 seasons of Next Generation. So I feel like there's so much more of the universe that I have to explore, or more episodes I have to see. The basics I know, the basics about the concept of this, idea of the Federation and Starfleet and the various, some of the major aliens in the franchise. But certain specifics of episodes I don't know. When people always talk about, I always hear stuff like, yeah, man,
lights.
Yesterday's Enterprise or something, yeah, just like there's always something that I'll hear somebody say in the background, and it's like, oh, well, I'll get to that one of these days and I'll know what they're talking about, because I don't know right now, but I know that it's something good because everybody keeps talking about it. And then even watching my own show, that was great, because I really feel like I went on the journey watching them as well, and got to know my fellow co-workers and actors in a different way, because I know them in a personal way. Watching their work was a little bit different, so I kind of understand the scope of what they've done now. And I'm really glad to have been able to watch these shows and still be on the journey to watch, because I feel like I'm learning so much about the universe. And, Sean, also one other thing about what we're all doing here is the thing about the culture of Star Trek, and the thing that we're trying to get to is this idea of this place, this utopian kind of idea where we're all working together for the common good, trying to explore the universe and resolve issues and explore ourselves as well. So I think that common idea is what we're all, working and striving for, this place where we don't have to be in a rat race for money, where our motivations are kind of supposedly to be, doing this more, benevolent work in the world. So I think that's the ideals that we strive for, and we have to get through the red tape of what actually exists, which is the bureaucracy of all of the things that exist. But ideally, that's what we can say we're striving for. So if things were to go down in a certain way and you needed to rebuild a civilization, you would probably want the Star Trek people to be the ones doing it, because they'd be like, no, there was an episode, I saw an episode, that won't work. If we try that, this is going to be the outcome.
Yes.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Don't wake up that AI machine. I know you have questions, but just, you know what? Take it apart.
What if we reroute the power from the main so
no,
we're always, that's what another thing Star Trek is about, is problem solving. I feel like every episode is essentially a problem to be solved. We're going to be having a new host come and join the Seventh Rule. And Ryan, would you like to make that, tell us who that new host is going to be?
You haven't told me yet, man. I don't know who it is. No, I'm just kidding. It is the one and only, the forever young Walter Koenig.
Yeah.
If you can believe, Walter Koenig at 87 years young is like yeah, that sounds fun. I'd like to do that. So he will be joining us. We will be watching and reviewing him from his early days, way back in the 60s, in the original series. And so we're going to be doing what we do with the Seventh Rule, but we'll be doing it with Walter Koenig. This is not instead of. We're still doing all the stuff that we always do. This is as well as. This is an expansion, a growth of the family. And so now on top of the aforementioned, that Cirroc mentioned, the Lappy Awards, the 2024 Lappy Awards, voting is ongoing right now. So be sure to go out and vote for those. Those are coming up soon and they're live. And on top of a virtual TrekCon, the first and biggest sci-fi convention ever. Yeah, now we have Walter Koenig, and I'm super excited. Walter seems to be super excited about it, and we hope everybody will be.
That sounds amazing. Yeah. That sounds incredible. I will be tuning in.
We got one so far.
All right.
Cool. I will stream it as many times as it needs to be streamed. Okay, but that is absolutely fabulous. What we will do as well is the voting that's ongoing. We'll pop a link to that in the description of this episode as well, so that people can.
Thank you. Also, by the way, everybody, you can be a part of this. We should have mentioned we have the campaign going right now, so that everybody can support this or join it or have access to what we're doing. If you could just include that link in the description box below as well. That way, everybody, you can sign up for it, you can support it, you can help make it happen. But it will be going in just a matter of weeks. So look forward to that, and definitely.
And Walter's going to be going on the same journey that I went on. That Denise Crosby has joined us for in her journey with the next, with her show. So, the journey is watching for the first time the show. And from our understanding, Walter has not seen these episodes. And so he will be seeing it for the first time all of these many years later. So I am really looking forward to, experiencing that with him and watching his reaction, because I was truly blessed by the opportunity to go on that journey. I didn't know how fulfilling it would be until I started on it. And you kind of don't know what it's going to be until you start on it. So I'm excited, and my anticipation is really looking forward to seeing Walter kind of go through the journey of watching his show all these years later. And I hope all of you will join us on that journey as well, because, we owe all of the original cast a debt of gratitude for, paving the way for the thing that we love. Whether you think it's the best show or not, it definitely is the original. And it is the foundation for the idea that we all love, that Gene Roddenberry was able to, share with us. So I'm excited about that aspect as well, because this is the beginning. This is the foundation of where, my gratitude comes from. We are just standing on the shoulders of giants. So let's start with the original giant.
Thank you so much for watching this abbreviated version of this podcast. Now, if you go to our audio platforms, you will get the full version of this podcast with this guest. So we really, really appreciate you subscribing to that, and you're just awesome and wonderful. Thank you so much.